Welcome to the Antlered podcast, where we discuss brews, witchcraft, spirituality, and more.
We hope through conversation we can continue something and do something else with those two things together.
Yes. We're drinking drinks.
Drinking drinks.
And we're doing things and talking about spooky shit.
Spooky ghosties.
So come on in.
Beyond the weather and the marsh, there is a whisper in the dark through the tides of disarray, where a wisdom knows the way. If you listen very still, there are answers to the earth, where the ancient pulses deep of the memories you keep.
Welcome to the Antlered podcast. I'm Elwyn and I'm a witch.
A hedge witch.
Alright, I'm a hedge witch.
This is true. I'm Amanda the Mommerator.
Are you?
Yeah. I want a new username.
Yeah, I think Mummerate is a bit worn out now.
Is it?
I mean, I wouldn't like to keep announcing myself as a generational witch either.
Yeah, I just feel like we've changed so much. I need a new username. I was thinking like Sexy Beast 4.
No, it sounds like a Tinder profile name. Why 4? Anyways.
Anyway. What are we doing today, Dad?
I don't know. It's the last podcast of the season.
It is.
So I've checked out.
Finale.
I'm going on holiday soon. I've checked out.
Finale. What are you drinking? What kind of beer is that?
Barbarian Ale.
IPA.
What it's called. I don't know, yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm drinking it out of a horn.
Oh.
A horn tankard.
Oh,
because
baby.
I forgot I had one.
And I am having a White Claw. Real white of me. A literal white person.
Yeah.
I like the ruby grapefruit.
Apparently. That was terrible. What made that noise for?
Tastes like if celery was alcoholic.
Pretty much. I'll stick with my beer, thanks. Do you want my salad?
Nah, I'm good. But what story would you like to share with our viewers, since this is kind of a laid-back one about paranormal encounters that you've had? It's spooky. Go.
Spooky.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose this is the point where many of you would probably imagine I have hundreds of stories that are spooky.
Mm-hmm.
However, it takes, well, as Mummeray, or whatever your bloody name is now, can attest to, I don't get spooked very easily by things. So, one of the spookiest things that ever happened to me, I was on holiday. I was around 12 years old, maybe 13.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd gone to a place called Nurka, which is Greece, but kind of. And I was asleep in my bed.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle of the day, I was having what do they call that? A fiesta?
Siesta.
A siesta.
Yeah.
And, oh, and, oh yeah, fiesta's a car.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I woke up and I was awake. I was incredibly lucid. And I became transfixed at the pair of eyes looking at me through the blinds
Oh, Jesus.
of the window.
What kind of blinds were they?
I fucking know.
Were they like curtains, or were they like
Well, no,
the
that
little
would be
horizontal
curtains then,
stripy
wouldn't they?
ones? Like the...
Venetian. You mean the Venetian?
How were they, the
kind?
thick ones or the skinny plastic ones?
What?
Yeah. Like the thicker wooden board like type ones? The skinny
I
plasticky
honestly
ones?
don't remember. I think they were wooden, but they were painted white.
Okay.
Because it was obviously like a Mediterranean thing. Anyway, God, I don't really know. I was too fixated at the pair of eyes staring at me.
Right.
However, the eyes were brown. They belonged to a man. I could see the bridge of the nose. I could see the slight part of a unibrow. That isn't the spooky bit, however.
The unibrow's pretty spooky.
That isn't the spooky bit. The spooky bit, I suppose, was that I stood as a child, gripped in fear, staring, as you do, kind of thinking, is it going to move? Are they going to blink? They did not. They looked at me for as long as I looked at them, and that was a long time. It must have been about 5 minutes of me just frozen, looking at these eyes. All sorts of things running through my head, but me not being able to act upon any of them.
Do you think you were paralyzed?
No, I was freaked out.
No, yeah, like paralyzed in fear.
Well, I was also paralysed in fear because I was the only one in the apartment. Everyone else had gone to the beach and left me to sleep. I think I was sunburned. I burn easy. Now, this is all very strange and a bit creepy. Yeah. However, we were on the 3rd floor.
Oh.
Yes, and I don't mean it looked like a face in that sense. It was a pair of eyes. I could see the veins in the whites of the eyes. I could see the pock marks on the nose. Like it was a face. Why is this one spooky, and why have I chosen this? To be honest, because I honestly thought it was a living person. Living people are far more terrifying than any kind of spectre I've ever seen.
What's the freakiest spectre that you've seen then?
Oh, that's a good one. I did see something that resembled... Well, it wasn't... Many spirits can change shape. And oftentimes they will try to find a shape that will provoke something in you. All right? This particular one tried to do something along the lines of, imagine an older woman. However, imagine her neck is like almost void of all bone.
Yeah.
And so her head would kind of lull from left to right, bobbing about, back and up and down and forth. No teeth in her head, no eyes as to speak of, hardly any hair at that point. Yeah, that honestly, that did send a little bit of a twitch in my leg.
Yeah.
Like, for things like that. But you chose the wrong person for this, to be completely honest with you. Things like that, I mean, there were the shades, different forms of what I call shades, different forms of spirit that usually look like people, but the eyes are completely black, void of anything. They often try and provoke fear as well. Those I've had encounters with. But then again, once you just tell them to fuck off, and they usually do. Like, that's the thing. I think as a child, I was raised literally. It's like, if you see something, just tell them to fuck off.
Yeah.
And I do, and they do.
Yeah.
Also, it's one of those things as you're beginning to learn is when you start to see the dead and you start to see other things, you become kind of callous to it.
Yeah.
You do after a while.
You forget to tell, there'd be times where I'd see something freaky and then I just forget to tell about you. tell you about it for a few days. Cause I don't even think about it that much anymore.
Well, you found that a great betrayal. I remember we were only married for about a year, and you were like,
you don't tell me when things are in the house?
Do you ever see things? Because you don't speak about it. I was like, oh yeah, I see things a lot. Yeah. You're like, well, you never tell me. I'm like, why do I have to tell you about it? You'll only get weirded out. They're all that's like me calling you up every time I see a bird fall in the garden. Oh, there's a robin on the tree. Like, why? It's there. It's there. But hey ho.
I disagree.
So there you go. There's something that what I believe to be spooky, I guess.
I have something spooky that I don't think you know about.
Oh, you probably have quite a few spooky. Oh, actually, one of the spooky things was actually concerned you.
Yeah, when we first started dating.
I meant our wedding, but yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, when we first started dating, that's right. Yeah, but I'll save that for my second one. So there, you can't have it.
So back when I was younger, I had a child very young, and even before I had my child, which was at 19, when I was about like 14, 15, 16, I became very depressed and suicidal. Trigger warning, sorry. But I started seeing this creature that lived in the corner of my ceiling, and I named it
Tom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it wasn't Tom, it was Charles. But it and I wrote about it in my diary a lot, and I was so freaked out by this thing because it followed me for years. So I just thought I was psychotic, to be honest with you. But I think it was some kind of entity that had attached itself to me. But, you know, it was all kind of like a gray skinned, no hair, bald. I guess you'd say like Venom if it was smaller and in the nude. Yeah, and skinnier, not muscly.
No eyes then, just black little pinholes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
It's not fun. I did not like that thing. And when it started getting really bad, I was very overwhelmed when I first had my daughter because my mother became very sick and I was caring for her, and my spousal support at the time was not great. And I had an episode.
An episode of what?
An episode, I guess you would say, of possession or just losing my mind. I'm not really sure.
They are very similar.
But I started talking in tongues, apparently, according to my spouse and his sister. And in lucid moments while I was speaking in a deep otherworldly voice, I'd say, put me in the bathtub. Like in my voice. And so they put me in the bathtub.
Yeah.
And I came back.
What, in the bathtub?
Yes.
Well, that's interesting. I never knew that bit before I married you.
Thought I'd share that with you. But after I left that house and that relationship, I never had issues with it again.
No. That's good. That's very good. Yeah.
What do you think that was?
Whoa.
Something eating my depression.
I think it was a manifestation.
Oh, sick. I had a poltergeist I created.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome.
Honestly, like 50% of them are usually a form of manifestation. They're not even from something originally.
I mean, it sounds like me to be so dramatic. I make my own creature to scare myself.
Yeah, that does sound like
it does.
Fucking martyr. Can you say martyr? Jeez.
Oh.
Life's not hard enough. I need a demon.
I mean, to be fair, if it was me, it got the end result I wanted, which was that his sister moved out of our house because we were letting her stay with her child at our apartment at the time.
So that's why you did.
And she was freaked out after she left. I'm like, what's going on? But cool.
Right.
Heyo. That's my scary story.
And ever since, if someone sits next to her on the bus, she just speaks in tongues and they leave.
All right. Do you want to tell your perspective of our dating story?
Honestly?
Yeah. Or should I start and then you can fill in?
Yeah, I'll fill in.
Okay.
So we just started dating, pretty much.
Well, we should go back a little bit.
Oh, all right then.
Because after I left that partner, I was in a long-term relationship. This person that I was in a long-term relationship slowly turned against me and everybody in his family when he lived at our house together, or at my house that I invited him to live with me.
Oh, yes.
he eventually, it was a townhome, and it had a basement that walked out into a forest at the top of a hill in the valley of Algonquin. And
tell them where we live.
well, they know we live in Algonquin.
Oh, that's true. There are many Algonquins.
There are. That's true.
Yeah.
But anywho, and then there was the mid-level, which was, and then the upstairs. And our bedroom was obviously upstairs. And he would not leave the basement. And to be fair, there was like, he wouldn't. He would not for nothing. And our relationship slowly deteriorated because he would come home and go straight to the basement. I'm like, what is going on?
I'm sensing a pattern.
It was just so scared of me. That's what it was. And then things started moving in the house. And as he became more violent and volatile, and he would throw things and break things and like try and get into the room where we were, he was very abusive, if you actually think about it. But it got really bad. And after he moved out, the activity continued. And then I was too scared to even go into the basement, to be honest with you. And 6 months later, cue up my little hubby over here.
She didn't hang about long.
Nah, I didn't.
No.
Mm-mm.
Do you want me to fill this in?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
So we started talking.
So we start talking, and you I never was forthright with what I did and who I was.
Not at all.
And what my family do, or any of those things. I in my experience, you don't enter with it. You don't.
Yeah.
It's best not to. However, over time, you kind of got the gist.
Right.
Some things.
Yeah.
I will give you pearls of wisdom.
Pearls.
Yeah, that's not a euphemism. Now,
Jesus
so
Christ.
in what? So there was, before I even got to you, there were certain things that I would feel, and that you would also tell me.
About the house.
About the house. Now,
jeez.
One of these things was the noises, which I would hear. Like, naturally, you start dating someone. You date someone long distance. You talk for a long time. Like, even now, 5 years later, there isn't a day goes by that, well, actually, now you work from home, but when you didn't work from home, we would, like, message each other. Now we're both, like, we work at...
We're in the same house.
Home, so
we can't get
no much point.
away from each other.
No. All right. Jeez. What? I don't want to get away from you. Well, kind of. I mean...
Damn.
I have an office, so it's easier. Anyways... But you know what I mean. Like, we still like, message each other,
All day.
all the time.
Yeah.
So, but there was, like, noises. And obviously you had Rye.
Yeah.
Who was only 6, just turned 6.
Right.
Yeah.
Little baby in the world.
Little bubba. But there were these noises which were, like, full-on thumpings.
Yeah.
She would be asleep. It got to the point, and I think anyone who's experienced long-term forms of haunting and activity in a home knows that it gets to a point where you just don't care anymore. You just burst into the room, and you're like, I don't care. Like, you just burst into the room, and like, knock it off. And that's what she was like. She's like, I'm just going to go and check it out. I'm like, what? Don't be too hasty. You're like, honestly, I don't care. You may have been showing off a bit. I don't know.
No, I didn't care.
But there were certain things that would happen. Now, in America, as opposed to Europe, when they have what's that stuff? We have powder. You have liquid.
Oh, the liquid laundry detergent.
Laundry detergent. That's what you call it. Now, they're huge. They're like a 2-gallon tub.
Yeah.
Well, one of those got thrown, didn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it got pulled out of the cabinet because it was in a cabinet above the laundry, which we had upstairs on the upstairs level. And it hit the ground, which I'm very surprised it didn't break apart. But then it slid out into the hallway. Like, how? What?
Yeah.
How?
This is in, like, the middle of the night.
Yes. Everything happened in the middle of the night, which was also super exciting. including the time that my younger brother was still living with me. I think this was before, but I told you about it. It was after my ex had moved out and my younger brother was staying in the basement for a bit. And our dog always liked to sleep in front of the front door at that house. Not upstairs in the bedroom, not anywhere else. In front of the front door.
She does not do well with spirits of any kind.
Oh, she really is not a good spirit dog.
She's not.
She's like, not about it.
She is like such a custard.
She is
of the cowardly
a
variety.
huge custard. And honestly, the upstairs was haunted. The downstairs was haunted. The middle area, not so bad.
I'm just going to crawl up in the corner and stay here.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was at the front door. And it's, again, it was always like 1, 2 p.m. or a.m. Sorry, 1, 2 a.m. And she starts barking. I'm like, oh my fucking God, what's going on? And from my bedroom, when I come to the door, I can see the front door from my bedroom upstairs. And I look out my bedroom door and the fucking front door is wide open and blowing and shaking in the wind. She's barking and freaking out at the door. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I thought there was an intruder in the house. The first thing I did was run across the hallway, grab my daughter, and lock her in the bedroom.
The world's loudest burglar.
Honestly, it's like, what is going on? And then I called my younger brother downstairs. I'm like, fucking get up here because I don't know what's happening. And then I called the police, and the police searched the whole house for me. Nothing was in the house. We ended up getting a new door and a new doorknob, if I recall. And that still happened, I think, one more time. But I didn't call the police that time.
Told her that.
I was like, fuck. This is what it is.
When I visited you, there was clearly something to do with the basement involved.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That's a hot spot.
That is literally the door that led to the basement.
Oh, it's a creepy
would
door.
Pulsate.
Yes.
It pulsates. However, I have a very unique trait. Wherever I go, spirits that don't want to be found out move away from me. So I go downstairs and it's empty. Yeah. But I feel it almost as though, you know how schools of fish move
around, predator.
Around like predators, like a shark or something, or a larger fish comes along, and a school of fish kind of just move around it, like we're just going over here. It's like that. Yeah. Chasing. If anyone's ever done a house cleanse,
you can feel them running away.
You can feel them, and you're like literally going into the next room, and you can feel them trying to get away from, like up in the corner, just trying to. It was like that. Okay, and that usually happens anyways. And so I was like, but I knew it was there. I stayed in your house by myself during the day because you still had to work. Yeah. So that alone, that was a strange thing, especially after what happened. Now, we are both on video chat. Yeah. And I'm talking away to you, and you are laying on your stomach on the bed, talking to me on video chat, and I am sitting up in my bed on video chat, because naturally the time difference means I'd have to be up quite late so we could both talk. Yeah. Right? And all of a sudden appears this, at first what I thought to be like a coat stand with a robe or a coat on it, a dark coat on it. However, it's behind an armchair that's in the corner of her bedroom. I say an armchair, it's more like a
piece of crap in the corner to throw my clothes on. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, look what it is.
Was it this chair? No, I got
No,
that chair much later.
One, wasn't it? Yeah. Yes. Anyways.
That would be really funny.
That would be funny. Anyway, I'm like, what is that? And she's like, what? I said, you got, like, what is that hanging up? Is that a coat? And it clearly, the more I seem to look at it over her shoulder, and it's a very clear view, it's not a coat. It's much taller. It's hanging there independently, but it also has a head that is shrouded. It's almost as though the whole thing is shrouded. Like in
like
just
the
like
ring.
Kind of, but yeah. And I get up to go and fetch my aunt.
Yeah, you went to get Sylv.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To show her. Not this. I didn't know how to screenshot things at the time. I needed to. Honestly, I'm terribly.
I've helped him a lot.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
However, as I look down again, it's gone.
Yeah.
And she's still there, and I'm like.
I remember freaking out though. I'm like, you're freaking me out because I kept turning around. I'm like, I don't see anything there.
Yeah, I was like,
what are you talking about?
There was something there, but it was behind in the corner of a room. It was very, anyways, not a good feeling from that.
Mm-mm.
But then fast forward, and I'm there in America. Well, here, not here in here, but in different house.
Our old house.
Old house.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a strange presence, especially during the day. It's almost as though it paces, it waits. Like it waits so that it can come back up.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, we go out one night, we go for dinner, we come back with Rye, and in the window, do you remember that? Above the front door, on the upper floor, there's a window, and there's a person standing in it.
I mean, there was always a person standing in that window, to be fair.
Yeah.
For me.
2 times. I was only there for 2 weeks, and 2 times I saw someone standing in that window when we pulled up.
Yep.
That was a bit spooky.
Yeah.
However, I think what happened afterwards, which you don't actually know about, was spookier.
What happened?
I brought something back with me.
Oh, what'd you bring back with you?
I started to feel very sick.
Mm.
Sylv comes in, my aunt, and she says, "That's strange." I remember I had a sigil on the door that I drew on the door because I started to feel a bit odd myself. And she said, "The sigil's not working." I said, "What do you mean it's not working?" She said, It's keeping it, but it's keeping it like on the sigil rather than just expelling it." I was like, that shouldn't be. Anyways, whatever this form of energy was, it seemed to take the image of her guide. And she began working with her guide, and then the guide turned on her. And she was like, "What the f-" And then all of a sudden she was like, you're not them. I won't say the name just for her, because it's her guide. But she was like, "You're not them." And it turned very scary, to be honest. Like, we both sat in the room, and
very
and you
insidious.
could feel, you could feel that something was moving around us. Like slowly trying to find like an in almost, and we had to kind of protect. That was strange. That was very odd. Like, nothing mimics your guide.
Yeah.
Nothing knows that deeply. Nothing probes that deeply. Anyways, we come back to this, and then we say, "Look, you need to look into where you live."
Right.
And you did.
Yeah.
And tell them what you found.
Well, should I first mention
what
I saw on the tree line?
Yeah, the tree line. Because the tree line is, her basement is basically dug into the ground.
At the top of the hill.
At the top of
overlooking
this hill,
our
like
city.
a ridge of a hill that
and
overlooks
you can
the
see
city.
the downtown area and then the river.
Yeah.
So it would be prime real estate to be at the top of that hill there.
It was a good location.
Yeah, it was a beautiful view because you could look out onto the forest area and... But
this forest area was very close to your back. It was because in America, for those of you who are not in America, a lot of places don't have gardens that are fenced off. Luckily, ours is fenced off.
Ours here now, yeah.
But before, it's just an open bit of land,
yard that we all
kind
share.
of everyone's house backs onto in some form.
Correct. So I was looking out at the tree line one night when the only time I would go in the basement, to be honest, even though it was a really nice basement. It had a bar and a fridge, like a sink. It had a big TV built in.
And a wraparound couch.
It was really nice to do movie nights down there, but nobody wanted to.
No one wanted to go. Even I didn't want to go in there.
Like, should we go movie night? Nah, I'll stay upstairs. Yeah. Anywho, but one day I was letting Penny out, and it was about dusk, and I saw a line of Native American people, just all lined up.
You didn't know they were Native American.
No, sorry, I should be. I should be more, general, that they were just shadow people.
But different ages and heights.
But different ages, heights. It wasn't, I could discern if it was a man or a woman, but I couldn't discern, race or gender.
Yeah.
But I mean, not like hundreds, but I would say like 20, 30.
At the time to me, you said 20 because you called me.
Yeah, it was a bigger number. I was like, holy
panicking.
shit, there's a lot of people in the trees.
You locked all the doors and she had the dog with her. That's why you went
I'm getting goosebumps now. It was scary. I didn't like that.
You were terrified. You started crying. Maybe you don't mind me saying, but you did. That's how scared she was. And she
don't
cry easy.
And usually I wasn't, upset by anything scary that happened at the house. But I was like, holy shit, there's a lot of ghosts here. Fuck.
And so we was like, you need to look up where you live. Because something is clearly not right. This amount of activity is not normal.
Well, here's the thing. You can't... We didn't find out specifically if where I lived was a Native American burial ground, but it said it was possible that would be prime real estate for where Native Americans would have buried their dead or celebrated because it was true. Yeah, it was, babe.
No, because do you not remember? We looked, and during the 1980s. Yeah, which is when that street started to be built. There was an article that they had found evidence of Native Americans that would suggest burials, as in the way of burial goods, but strangely there was everything to correlate with burials, but no remains.
Oh yeah.
And I said to you at the time, isn't that convenient that there were no remains? I'm sure that money probably passed hands somewhere along the lines. And we kind of laughed about it. But that was specifically about the development area where you lived. So there were archaeologists called out to that spot of that area of where you lived. I do also have to note that while the name of our city is Algonquin, it's not specifically a region Algonquinians traveled to a lot. No. They were not native to this land. They passed through, but other Native American tribes lived in Illinois in this city. Yeah. So just if anybody wanted to know that. And also, our team sports were named after Indians, but they've been changed recently. That makes me very happy. Anyway. Yeah, that was really traumatizing, that whole experience. Like, I mean, there was way more things than just the laundry detergent falling. But, and more things than just the ghosts, too. I mean, like, there was, like, little kind of gremlin creatures, remember? Tom, I was thinking of Tom. Tom was the soldier. Do you remember?
That Rye saw at the house. And he taught her swear
words and things.
Yeah, that was weird. And would just hang out in the hallway. And she's like, he's hanging out in the hallway defending me. He's protecting me.
Yeah,
like,
Tom was all right.
What the fuck?
I didn't see him, but I felt him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was weird.
But, ultimately, the little gremlin things, I remember you telling me this. At the time, you remember, we've only been dating for a short while. And
what
she's
a
telling
romance.
me this, she's like, there's gremlin things. And a lot of people are like, she's a fucking nutter.
I'm a keeper.
She's a keeper.
If they tell you about gremlins, they're a keeper.
Gremlins.
Yeah, that was a haunted ass house. The thing that's crazy, if anybody's ever lived in a haunted house, just the trauma of still, like, and you know how people are like, if I lived in a haunted house, I'd get out right away. It's like, you don't have fucking money to get out right away. Like, it took me years to try and get out of that house. I was like, I don't want to live here anymore, but I can't leave. Like, if you really don't have resources, like, you're fucking stuck. And then you just get kind of desensitized to it. So when other people notice it,
I told you, I was like, you need to leave. Like, you need to sell this house.
I'm like, I'm working on it.
Go. And then we did.
Yeah.
But
I think there's just a misconception too that, like, oh, they're stupid. It's like, we're doing the best we can.
You do that yourself.
Yeah.
Because it is easy when you see people break down and talk about the things that have happened to them. Like, why don't you just leave? I'd leave. Exactly right, babe. You do say that, but at the same point, that's your home. That's everything you've got. Where are you going to go? You going to go live in your car?
Yeah. And I think if I didn't have my mom, who had recently passed, I do think she did the majority of protecting us from those spirits. Because if my ex went that way,
they targeted him for different reasons.
I think me and Ryland would have eventually gotten really
he had a
bad too.
Weakness that they exploited. They exploited weaknesses of yours, but in a different way. They weren't anger and things like that.
Yeah.
For him, it was these triggers of a form of injustice that, from what I felt when I was there, were linked to his mother.
Makes sense.
I don't know. I never met him, obviously, but
yeah,
there was something to do with his mother and feeling. I don't know anything about him, to be honest, but that's what it felt like.
No, you're right, because she was a hoarder.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It was like anger, and it was a trigger.
Yeah.
That sense, so that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but yeah.
Going into my ex's past.
Oh, sorry about that. I never asked you about them.
No.
At all.
They were not a nice person at the end, so.
You ask me about mine all the time.
I do.
You really do.
I stalked all of them.
You really have, and it's really weird. You need to stop. Because it's been
I haven't in a long time.
5 years.
I
We're
haven't
married with 3 kids.
I haven't since year 2, to be fair. So.
Year 2 from now, or year 2 at
year
the
2
beginning?
at the beginning.
Oh, I'm just checking. Okay.
But yeah. All right. You got another spooky story?
No, I kind of chimed in on yours. I thought it was a joint effort.
Oh, all right. Well, I have one more spooky story.
If it's about the old man with the hook for a hand on top of the car, we've heard it. Okay? It didn't happen.
I was actually going to talk about the entity that was living at my old work, my old job.
Oh, no, don't do that.
No?
Well, unless you want, people to start gunning for you. You're on TikTok. You know what was going to happen if you say this.
I'm not going to specifically name any names.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so I was working in a financial field, and my boss was horrible and gaslit me and made me feel awful and made me work all the time when I didn't need to and was just not really a good person in general. Just pretty horrible.
I mean, he may be listening. So, by the way, Patrick, you're an arsehole.
Fuck you, Patrick.
You really are. You gave this woman 2 weeks maternity leave. What kind of a fucking monster does that? Arsehole.
Yeah, that was pretty messed up.
Talk about Ebenezer Scrooge.
Honestly, I didn't even stop bleeding at that point.
No, she was still wearing nappies. Nappies, Patrick, you wanker.
Let's not even getting into the breast pumping at work situation. But anyway.
You won't believe how many poppets I've made of you, you arsehole.
He really did that.
Anyways.
He's going to get cancer again, but...
Don't say that. That's not my fault. That's not my fault, okay? I am not liable in any way, shape or form. That's on record. I did nothing.
I need a drink.
I can only fit 3 pints in this thing. I need more.
Okay. Anyway. Yes. I started experiencing, especially...
Would you say this was the awakening of your clairvoyant experience? Because since we met each other, your experience in the way of clairvoyance is become much stronger.
Yeah. I would definitely say that. I was also practicing at that point. I was doing, after Patrick would leave for the day, I had an hour or 2 left by myself at my office. And so I would practice meditation. I would practice doing tarot readings for myself and things of that nature too. Yeah. So I was doing magic at my job, which probably wasn't the best idea because it was really not a great environment, obviously. But that's the only opportunity I really had at that point.
Yeah.
For time to do what I wanted to do when I was going through that awakening.
Yes.
Okay. Anywho, the first time I saw this creature was when it tried to break into my meditation. I was creating my wards and my bubble around myself, and I was trying to activate my third eye, and I was meditating, and I felt it try and get through my bubble.
Mm.
And it was big. And
What colour was your bubble? Pink?
No, it was like a gold.
Nice.
Yeah, a goldy white.
I'm just interested, that's all. I always like to know what kind of energy people work with. Go on.
But yeah, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And I don't think I brought it up to you at that point because I was just like, I must be doing something wrong. As most people would think. And the next time I saw it, I had no idea. It was a big ass creature, guys. I have to tell you. And it had like a skull for a head and almost like a bear's body, but bigger.
Was it thinner or thicker?
Thinner, but like furry and like longer arms.
Like a chimpanzee then?
Yes. But it was big. Like, I don't know how to explain this to you. It was 7 feet plus.
But
it was big.
Over, right?
But hunched over.
That's how I remember seeing it, because you called me in anyways.
Yeah. And I was like, the fuck? I'm leaving work early.
I think if we mention the antlers,
yes,
then people will kind of understand why.
They were broken antlers coming out of its head as well. They weren't like beautiful stag antlers. They were like ripped and hanging with like dead flesh looking type of a thing. When deer or stags want to, the felt comes off. Mm-hmm.
Sheds, it looks bloody and
they all busted up.
Yes, exactly.
Anywho, so then I was like, I'm not going back to work with that thing there. And I called you in, and you said to not do magic anymore until you'd come in and you cleansed the place. And I'm assuming you saw it when you cleansed the place. Mm-hmm. And
it's near the back room.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was in the back room.
Stationary bit.
Mm-hmm, where nobody would go into. Yeah. There's no energy.
They don't like people's energy passing through theirs.
Yeah.
So they often find places where people don't go.
Right. Yeah. So nobody used, my boss, the thing you have to understand about my boss is we work in finance. So he's automatically greedy. He wants clients. He wants to gain more money and more commissions from that money. But he's also like so much about image. And he had this huge office and like 3 other office rooms that nobody used. And like this huge conference area and like double bathrooms. I'm like, it's just me and you.
Unnecessary.
Who the fuck? Why?
But you see
and that gave room for these things to breed that were attracted to his psychoticness.
It's not just the psychoticness.
Yeah.
As we went through, this entity that you described, which we will not name, but many people will know, is actually born from forms of legend and is notorious in the way of cannibalism. But it is not cannibalism based on survival. It is cannibalism based on want and desire. Yeah. It follows greed. Mm-hmm. Your boss, would you say your boss is a greedy person?
Yes.
I would say so. A very vain person as well. Mm-hmm. He had built a temple to greed where people who have more money than they have intelligence, and I can attest to that, so can you, would come so that he could make them more money.
Yes.
For doing nothing. Mm-hmm. This creates a place of their environment. If you, for instance, like ancient history or you like to read, then you probably hang out in a library. It is no different for entities and spirits. They go where they feel at home, where there's easy pickings. And it was the same there. Yeah. It doesn't have to be an ancient place. It just has to have the necessary amount of energy, the right meaning of why something is established.
I do also think it had to do with him collecting items that were replicas or originals of basically other people's cultures and spirituality. Yeah. He was very Christian himself, but apparently he did not care about, Native American totems or...
yeah, they weren't all replicas.
Yeah. He was not. Yeah, he did not give a fuck.
No, he doesn't.
He did not care. He's just like, look what I've acquired that cost a lot of money.
Fear of upsetting people. He was the classic arrogant Republican. Clean shaven, wears his pants too high, and has a braided belt buckle. Yep, that's the kind of wanker we're dealing with here.
Yeah, that was an accurate description.
Mm-hmm.
But anywho, after I spoke with someone who comes from a background about what I was seeing, they recommended me a solution, and ever since I had that solution, which I kept on my keychain on my work keys that I always brought into the office, I never had problems. I felt it on the exterior of my office, which I had a door, and that was like kind of my warded room, and I could feel it watching me if I left that room, but it could not get into my space because of what I had on my keychain that they recommended to me.
Yeah.
So it was fucked up.
Yeah, but I think that's a comforting feeling.
Yeah.
I like that. You've noticed yourself the things outside the house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's because of all the stuff that people who will remain nameless and...
Yeah. The jellies.
If you like. The talentless hags, but nevertheless.
The talentless hags.
I mean, it's the end of the season. Let's bear all. Shall I name them? No. But yeah, that's, but it is a remarkable feeling when, you're like, ha, look, why are you out there? Oh, yeah, that's why.
You can't get too close.
Yeah. It is nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's that. That was an interesting one.
It was an interesting one. And, it's also interesting, the dynamic of our relationship and how much we've grown spiritually by knowing each other, and like you helping me work through things and I'm helping you work through just humane things. It's very interesting.
Oh God, no, yes.
I give you human aspects to cling on to and learn, and you've given me a lot of spiritual aspects to.
Yeah, well, let's get something straight. I did not live in human aspects for a long time. I was quite literally away with the fairies. Like, because I had the time. I completely became a recluse. I separated myself from humanity and society, and I lived purely within a state of deeper and deeper thought, to the point where I felt that I'm mad and I'm fully gone. There's no hope. Like, I must dedicate everything that I am now to the study of my craft because of that. It was only then, until I fell in love, did I realise there was something worth being human for.
Aww. That's nice, Fam. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, there's something worth being spiritual for, as much as I dislike it. Fuck it all.
Yeah, well, now I get sick a lot, so we're both even.
I could really just live without the random appearances of people and things, though.
I could live without being laid up in bed for 3 days because I got a cold. I never used to get sick.
That's because you have kids now, honey. It's not.
That's true. That's probably the reason, to be honest.
Even like good spiritual things, like when I first saw one of my other guides besides my doorkeeper guide, I saw like a sentinel. Do you remember when I saw the suit of armor?
Yes.
Like the big suit of armor. I woke up from a dream and I had dreamed about it, and then I saw it in person. I was like, the fuck is this shit? I didn't get any negative vibes from the suit of armor, just like, I'm here if you need me to protect you while you sleep because you're worried.
Do you still use it? Do you still talk to it?
No.
No, well, you don't need to. That's the wonderful thing about spirit guides. Different from familiars.
Yeah.
With familiar, you have to keep a rapport usually. With a guide, they're there regardless.
Yeah. What about the, have you seen the goat person in the house recently? Or have they gone?
No, they've gone primarily. I haven't been actually interacting with much in the way of my familiars. There was good promise in the way of familiar work with that. We called it a fawn, really, didn't we? It was or a satyr, in a way.
That goat dude freaked me out when I was washing dishes
big
that day.
Black goat head he had.
Like, motherfucker!
He was very big. I've seen him a couple of times.
Yeah.
But no, I rather miss him, actually. I was thinking about him about 2 days ago, thinking I always used to leave carrots out as offerings.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, sometimes I think the reason that he was there is because, as I said to you, there is someone down at the end of this street
That you think is a practicing.
who practices in the way of their
Greek
art
witchery.
is a form of Greek art. I think they work with different Greek deities and stuff, and I think that is why the satyr is there, or the image of the satyr.
She has a lovely garden. I have to say,
and, yeah,
it's beautiful.
yeah, and I think that's why, because I felt it come from like literally from that direction. Like it was very strange to me.
Yeah,
but yeah, and I was like, I don't want to piss on your patch. Here. Do you know what I mean?
I don't want to steal your guys.
Like, yeah, I don't want, they're your spirits, they're not mine.
Yeah.
But to be honest, like I'm working through my own things with my fetch self. There's
enough.
There's plenty to do. I'm never bored. That's for sure, especially when it's springtime and summer.
All right. We're wrapping up with the last 10 minutes here or so. So let me...
I can give you
There we go.
a story about my aunts, if you like.
No. I was going to move on to something else, actually.
Well, what do you mean something else? What are you going to move on to?
I was just going to recap the season and then end it.
Why do you want to recap it?
Because it's the finale.
You're supposed to recap.
Because it's the finale.
What are we going to do for next season?
I don't fucking know.
We should make a baking show. We could bake different kinds of bread from around the world.
What does that have to do with a podcast? That'd be really boring.
No, it wouldn't. We'll get pissed first.
Okay.
Alright, then fine.
I hate when you do that during the podcast. You know that, right?
Who?
Yes.
Don't make me giggle. Ow!
So, what I was thinking we could do is we could talk about a few of our favorite episodes we did and kind of just do a little summary recap for our last episode.
Didn't you get a card game in the mail recently?
I did.
Do you want to go and get that and we'll play it?
No.
Why?
I
don't know where it is.
No, because it's just cats, goats, and tacos. It's silly.
Oh.
It's not like a question game.
Oh, is that the card game? I thought there was another one.
Mm-mm.
Oh.
So now I'm going to do this again.
I'm so sorry. Before you start, let me cough. Okay.
So I was thinking that... Are you quite done now?
I was doing that so you know what to edit. I'm trying to help.
Are you done?
Okay. Go.
So I was thinking for our last episode, now that we've told our ghost stories, we could talk a little bit more about some of our favorite moments or our favorite episodes from the season.
Yes.
Okay. What was your favorite episode we did? Do you need a list of them or do you remember?
No, I'm terrible.
Babe!
It's all a blur. I remember the guests we had, but that's pretty much it. That's it. Like,
Babe.
You ply me with alcohol every podcast. I don't remember.
That's not true. We've had tea a few times.
When we were sick.
Okay. So our first episode.
Oh, I'm out of drinks.
Our first episode was Dirty Beans.
Oh, yes.
Was it?
Yeah, that wasn't that good.
No, our first episode was Bish Better Have My Money. And then we interviewed Morgaine.
Yeah.
And then Fried Boobs.
Fried Boobs was particularly good. I did like that one.
Fried Boobs was about chaos magic, wasn't it? And her tatas were out, and then she got sunburned because
she was at a festival.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Yep. Beatniks. Yeah. Beatniks. But then we interviewed Witch of Southern Light. Oh my God, Marsha was so cute and funny. I was so wasted.
She really was.
I was so nervous. I got so wasted before it. I was drinking straight gin. It was not good.
Drinking straight gin.
Dirty Beans. There's a lot of Harry Potter references. What were you even talking about? How mad I spoon ya.
No. Oh, you just smacked your head on the thing.
I did. I'm okay.
No, that was the Cards Against Potter.
No. What did we talk about with Dirty Beans? I
We're
don't
going to
even
have to listen.
remember.
Do you see? We don't even remember.
Oh, defensive magic. I think.
Yes, that was maybe. Maybe.
Interview with Sigurvina.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
We gotta fuck that witchcraft up.
I don't even know. This is what happens.
This week we will be talking about how lucky we are not to drive a BMW, ham slices versus bacon, and Cornish witchcraft.
I don't even remember. Ham slices. We're both vegan. Why are we discussing these things? We have no bloody authority to discuss ham or bacon.
Truly do not know.
Oh, you know why? You know why? It's because you say British bacon is ham, and I say it's not.
It is ham.
It's not ham.
Then we interviewed Jesse.
Yes, I remember that one. It wasn't that long ago.
And then I'd be mayonnaise. Do you remember that one?
I'd be mayonnaise. I'm going to have to listen to this. I know what I'm doing on the flight to England. Right.
That was the one we were chatting about kitchen witchery and magic. We talk about pasta and pizza balls, Ricola, and deities associated with kitchen magic.
I don't. But
I'd
you know
be
what?
mayonnaise. Remember, because you were like, I'd be mustard. And I'm like, I'd be mayonnaise.
Oh, yeah. I remember that now. Now I have a hankering for IKEA Swedish meatballs.
What does that have to do with any of that?
You mentioned meatballs.
Pizza balls.
I mean, they're obviously protein-based meatballs, but like plant-based. But nevertheless, they're still
And
good.
then we interviewed Divine Sunflower Ducky.
Yes.
And Wicked Rose Healing.
Rose Healing.
Yeah.
Yes. And then...
And now this one.
And then this one. No, actually, then we did Barefoot.
No, Barefoot. I'm going to have to cut that out because that's a bonus episode they don't know about.
Well, when this comes out, they will.
No.
What?
No.
It's still a fucking episode, though,
No,
isn't
it's
it?
supposed to be a surpise.
Oh. Well, the bit that I just said. I said I don't have any shoes on and I have bare feet. Is that better?
I'm gonna have to edit the shit out of this one. I hate you so much. Fucking hell.
You know what? You could do it on the plane.
Great. I don't have Wi-Fi.
I'm doing what Dave does. You got 10 hours. You could do it on a plane.
Fucking hell, that was so annoying.
Oh dear.
All right, you guys.
All right.
What was your favorite episode? You didn't say.
What was the one about bread?
That was last season.
Was that Ghost Loaf?
Ghost Love.
I'm sorry, but that's probably still my favourite episode. I know it was last season, but you can't beat that. Fucking Ghost Loaf.
When the bread bin would be haunted and shaking.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one.
That's funny.
But this one, there's so many. Now, you see, I immediately have to not pick one with a guest because then it feels like favoritism.
I think you really like talking to Jesse Streak this season.
You think?
Yeah, you guys, after I left, literally the kids woke up, so they were talking in the afternoon for him.
You were like,
evening.
You can close up,
and I was like,
right?
yeah, you can close up, like stop recording, just talk to Jesse for a minute. I'm going to go get the kids. And I thought he was working. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take the kids to the park so you can finish doing your readings and whatnot. Fucking guys. He was on the freaking Zoom for 3 hours with her talking.
We were just chatting.
Fucking 3 hours. I was like, what have you been doing?
We were just chatting. Honestly, we were just like talking
I was so
about
annoyed.
Stuff. It was just a good natter. It was like a proper British natter. And we really had a good natter. It was like, oh, this is nice. Yeah.
I'm excited to meet her.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
And we talked to Mara.
Yeah, we talked
Oh,
to
we're not
Mara.
supposed to be mentioning that either.
Oh, well done. Now you've already did this.
No, wait. We talked to Mara in our book club as well.
Yeah, we have a book club.
On the Patreon. That was fun.
You see, this is the thing, is when you allow other people, because on our Patreon, we put it up to a vote of what the episode will be called.
Yeah.
Out of like 3 or 4 things. So we don't really hold any stock to what we would call it because it's up to others.
Yeah.
So we don't remember what it's called.
I come up with 3 names based on what we talked about in the episode, and they vote on it. So these name choices are your guys' fault.
Yeah, they're your fault.
They're your fault, not our fault. I think it makes it interesting, but
I mean, it does. It certainly does.
Oh.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, fucking
anyway.
hell. I'm so tired.
Okay. Quickly. I want you to answer this.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
What is this?
Hit me.
I want you to tell me. Okay. What was the first, shall we say, paranormal experience you ever had?
Oh, like as a child?
Well, it would have been first, so if it was when you were a child.
I mean, I can't remember anything from my childhood, really, so.
Deep suppression.
It's in the shadow work. It's my womb lands.
Deep in the womb lands.
Deep in there.
I looked them up recently. Neither of them have made a post.
Oh, you were so invested in that.
I was.
You love a bit of drama.
And then I got sick of it. Now I'm really into the herd trial, and I'm loving.
He
it
says
so
he
much.
doesn't like reality stuff, and he does.
Well, it's not. It's not that. It's like herd is finally
My goodness.
being exposed. I am going to be so upset if it turns out like there is no justice in the world.
Okay.
Anyways, we won't go into. I
think so. I think my first memory was probably when I started getting, 12, 13, 14. And I remember in my dad's house when my parents had separated and then eventually divorced, there was a creepy ass dude that liked to stand in the hallway. And my dad made me and my brothers all share. And I was directly in front of the doorway. And my younger brother was always fucking scared. So we had to have it cracked instead of shut. And he would always, that creepy spirit, push the door. And I'd see it like shifting ever so slowly open. And I'd put like a rock in front of it or a pillow so it couldn't shift. And it would still move. And I don't like that guy. That was my first interaction I can remember with that spirit.
Nice.
Yeah. What about you? It's probably a nice one. I only get the mean spirits. They like to scare me.
I was 6. It was my great grandmother.
Oh.
Yeah, she'd come and just hang out. I never actually met her, but apparently I have memories of talking to her.
Oh.
I have memories of there being flowers around her that were like purple.
Yeah.
And she was sitting in a specific chair and she was knitting and what she looked like. And I remember describing it and everyone was like, and even as an adult, I was like, no. And then someone was like, no, she died like before you. I was like, no, we would go and speak to her. She was there.
Mm-hmm.
And people were like, no, she wasn't. I was like, she was.
I remember.
Yeah, and so that was like, it is nice. But to be fair, there were others. Like, it's a mixed bag, the same way life is in general with people.
How come I don't have like nice experiences with spirit?
That's not true.
Babe.
Okay, what about when you were in the car?
Well, when I have nice... Yeah, but that was like my mom. That's completely different.
Why is that different?
Like, why doesn't a spirit ever come by and is like, hey, don't want to scare ya, just need some help? Why are they like that? Why are they like, hey, I'm gonna fucking jump at you?
They don't jump at you.
They do.
They don't mean to.
Fucking hell.
Like,
a weak disposition. Please don't do that.
Where was like, I remember my dad moved into a new place and it had 3 stories. So you'd open the door and it was just stairs that went up to the first floor.
Yeah.
And then you'd have another set of stairs that go up to the next floor. It's like the 3rd floor, but it's technically like, not the 3rd floor. That's where the bedrooms were.
Yeah.
And there was like the attic bit. And I remember that it was quite high up because I remember looking out of the window. You probably wouldn't see it now because there's a lot more bigger buildings. But you could see lit up at night. My dad remember pointing there and saying, look, there's St. Paul's Cathedral. And it was. Anyways, that's not the point.
The fuck?
I never used to like staying up there. When I stayed with my father, I never liked it. I used to sit on the stairs and fall asleep because I used to hear him watching telly, and I knew if I went down all the way down the stairs, they'd put me back to bed, so I'd just sit on the stairs. But the reason why I didn't like it because there was a very angry woman in that room, and she used to kind of like, she used to move around like almost like she would glitch. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then as she glitched, she would get closer, like, boom, closer.
Oh, fuck
boom,
that.
Closer. And I remember it, and she was like, her hair was in a bun. She was old. And I remember it got really bad at one point. I remember saying to my dad, I can't come round anymore. And I mean, my dad told me, he said, we moved house because of you wouldn't stay there. And I was like, even as a kid, I was like, that's bollocks. That's just a convenient truth. Like, you moved house, but you could also use it for this reason, but whatever. You know, so.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad. But also, there was like, when it got really bad, I remember one thing, two things. The first thing was my brother would be asleep next to me on occasion if he would stay round, and he would be in the bed because we always had shared a room when we were little.
Yeah.
But he was 8 years older than me. But I remember him watching me. Now, my brother had brown eyes and I had blue eyes. And I remember this this blacky brown eye just staring at me from behind under the duvet.
Oh, fuck.
Thinking, why is my brother just staring at me? And then all of a sudden the cover just disappeared. Like there was a lump with just like you know what I mean? Just like that. And then just like a peeking eye.
Yeah, underneath
and
the
then
blankets.
No thanks. And realised my brother's not here this weekend.
Oh no.
And the other time was when I woke up and I couldn't move my... Now this sounds like sleep paralysis. I woke up and I couldn't move my body, nor could I open my eyes. However, when I did finally open my eyes, still couldn't move my body, there was someone straddled on top of me. And it was a darker figure. Yeah. But the moment I opened my eyes, they kind of like that moved away.
Shot through overhead. Yeah.
Those are the two things that
were scarier.
I refused to go to my dad's house because I was just like, there's something that doesn't want us there. There's something that doesn't, and above all else, does not like kids. And so I'm not doing it anymore. And that was that.
I think we should do a lesson on YouTube about how to help children that are psychic.
Oh, fuck. You're getting into a world of hurt there.
No, I know. But I think experiences like for our kids that have had psychic abilities and for other people's kids that we've helped, I think it would be helpful just to give them some general comfort or guidance because it's hard being a psychic kid.
It is. Well, a lot of kids are psychic. That's the thing as well.
Yeah.
A lot of them are psychic.
Yeah. I repress that shit so hard.
Now you've said that, I feel like it's... Yeah, I have to.
Yeah.
Thanks Thanks for just prodding and waking up that moral slumber within me. That's what I needed to do. I'm already swamped with work. I just want to go on holiday.
Yeah, I feel you. All right. Well, anyway. You can find us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook as The Antlered Crown, or on YouTube as Elwyn the Witch.
I offer a variety of readings, including bones, tarot, medium connections, deity confirmations, as well as spiritual consultations, which are done live and scheduled via Zoom. I am also offering spell work and custom merchandise, all of which you can find on my website, theantleredcrown.com.
You can also join our community on Patreon and get access to our Discord server, group meetings, one-on-ones with Elwyn, tutorials, discounts, and other goodies depending on the tier level you choose.
Speaking of which, here is our Antlered Crown patron shout-out.
Here it is. We're looking at it right now.
Right now. So
we have Rhea,
Rochelle,
and Mal. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
We love you.
Love you.
And we will see you in season 3. We're on season 3, guys. Not yet, but next year. That's crazy. But you need to keep an eye out because we do have a few bonus episodes we're going to release over the summer and fall. So just always remember.
Tip your witch bitch.
Bye-bye.
Bye.